Pet ownership should be straightforward. Feed them, love them, take them to the vet when sick. But some pet owners manage to turn basic animal care into situations so bizarre that veterinarians question their medical training and wonder if they're being pranked. Here are 44 pet owner decisions that made veterinarians wonder how these people keep themselves alive, let alone their animals. 1. A woman brought her cat to the emergency vet because it wouldn't stop meowing at 3 a.m. After extensive examination, the vet discovered the cat was perfectly healthy and just hungry. The owner had been feeding the cat on a strict 9 to 5 schedule because she didn't want it to develop bad eating habits and thought cats should follow human mealtimes. She was genuinely shocked to learn that cats might want food outside of business hours. 2. A man rushed his dog to the clinic because it was walking funny and limping. The vet found a perfectly healthy dog and asked the owner to demonstrate the concerning walk. The man had been making his dog wear shoes every day for 6 months because he thought paws looked unsanitary. The dog had never learned to walk normally and had developed an awkward gait, trying to accommodate the unnecessary footwear. 3. A couple brought their rabbit to the vet because it was eating its own droppings and they were convinced it had a serious digestive disorder. The veterinarian had to explain that rabbits naturally eat some of their feces as part of normal digestion, called cecotrophy. The owners had been chasing their rabbit around the house for weeks, pulling pellets out of its mouth and washing its face with soap because they thought it was sick. 4. A woman called the emergency line at midnight because her fish was sleeping upside down and she was worried it was having nightmares. The fish was dead. It had been dead for 3 days. She had been gently rocking the fish tank each morning to wake it up and was confused why it wasn't eating the food she continued to sprinkle on the surface. 5. A man brought his hamster in because it was hoarding too much food, and he was concerned about the hamster developing diabetes from overeating. He had been rationing the hamster's food to 3 pellets per day and couldn't understand why it kept hiding food in its cheeks. The vet had to explain that cheek pouches are normal hamster anatomy, not a sign of food addiction or psychological problems. 6. A woman took her cat to 3 different veterinarians because none of them could fix its purring. She was convinced that purring was a respiratory problem that needed medical treatment and had spent over $800 on x-rays and medications trying to cure her cat's contentment. She was genuinely surprised to learn that purring was a sign of happiness, not a medical condition requiring intervention. 7. A couple brought their dog in because it had been acting depressed since they redecorated their living room. After questioning, the vet discovered they had moved the dog's food and water bowls to the garage because the new bowls clashed with the color scheme. The dog was confused and stressed because its basic necessities had been relocated for interior design purposes, not because it had opinions about home decor. 8. A man rushed his goldfish to the vet because it wasn't responding to its name. He had been calling the fish Gerald for 6 months and was concerned that it might be deaf because it never came when called. The veterinarian had to explain that fish don't have the cognitive ability to learn names or respond to vocal commands, and that his expectations were based on mammalian behavior rather than fish biology. 9. A woman brought her cat in for personality counseling because it wouldn't use the elaborate cat furniture she'd purchased. She had spent $2,000 on designer cat trees, beds, and toys, but the cat preferred sleeping in cardboard boxes and playing with bottle caps. She wanted the vet to prescribe medication to make her cat more appreciative of quality items, and couldn't understand why expensive cat furniture wasn't automatically preferred. 10. A couple took their dog to the vet because it was jealous of their new baby and needed therapy. The dog was actually displaying normal, curious behavior around the infant, but the owners interpreted every glance at the baby as a sign of dangerous jealousy. They wanted the vet to prescribe anti-anxiety medication for the dog's sibling rivalry, and were surprised to learn that gradual introduction and training were more appropriate than psychiatric medication. 11. A man brought his bird to the vet because it kept making inappropriate comments, and he was worried it was developing behavioral problems. The parrot was repeating phrases it had learned from TV shows, including some profanity and adult-themed content. The owner wanted the vet to perform some kind of brain reset, to make the bird forget inappropriate words and only repeat family-friendly phrases, not understanding that parrots learn by repetition and mimicry. 12. A woman called the emergency vet because her cat was staring at nothing, and she was concerned it was having hallucinations. The cat was displaying normal hunting instincts, watching dust particles, shadows, and small insects that the owner couldn't see. She wanted psychiatric evaluation for her cat's psychotic episodes and was convinced that staring at invisible things indicated serious mental illness requiring medication. 13. A couple brought their dog in because it was too friendly, and they wanted medication to make it more aggressive for home security. The dog was a naturally social breed that greeted visitors with enthusiasm, which the owners interpreted as a security failure. They couldn't understand why the veterinarian refused to prescribe medications to alter their dog's temperament for guard dog purposes, and suggested they had chosen the wrong breed for their security needs. 14. A man took his turtle to the vet because it was moving too slowly and he suspected it had a mobility disorder. He wanted the vet to prescribe stimulants or recommend physical therapy to increase his turtle's walking speed. The veterinarian had to explain that slow movement is normal turtle behavior, not a medical condition, and that attempting to speed up a turtle could actually cause stress and health problems. 15. A woman brought her cat in because it was sleeping 16 hours a day, and she was convinced it had chronic fatigue syndrome. She had been setting alarms to wake the cat every few hours for activity periods, and was concerned when it kept going back to sleep. The vet explained that cats naturally sleep 12-16 hours daily, and that forcing activity periods was disrupting normal sleep patterns rather than treating any medical condition. 16. A couple took their rabbit to the vet because it was digging inappropriate holes in their backyard, and they wanted behavioral modification therapy. The rabbit was displaying normal burrowing instincts, but the owners thought the holes were randomly placed and wanted the rabbit trained to dig only in designated areas they had marked with flags. They couldn't understand why rabbits didn't follow human landscape planning guidelines. 17. A man brought his fish to the vet because it was swimming in circles, and he was worried it was having psychological problems. The fish was in a small bowl and swimming in circles because there wasn't room for straight-line swimming. He wanted anxiety medication for the fish rather than a larger tank, convinced that the repetitive swimming was a sign of mental illness rather than spatial limitation. 18. A woman called the vet because her bird was making unauthorized sounds at night and she was concerned it was trying to communicate with other birds outside. The bird was displaying normal nighttime vocalizations, but she thought it was planning an escape or coordinating with wild birds. She wanted soundproofing recommendations for the cage and was convinced her bird was involved in some kind of avian conspiracy. 19. A couple brought their dog in because it was choosing favorites among family members, and they wanted the vet to explain fairness and equality to the dog. The dog naturally bonded more strongly with the family member who fed and walked it regularly, but the others felt discriminated against. They wanted equal affection distribution and couldn't understand why emotional bonds weren't mathematically divided among household members. 20. A man took his cat to the vet because it was ignoring expensive toys and only playing with trash. He had purchased hundreds of dollars worth of interactive cat toys, but the cat preferred playing with paper bags, bottle caps, and cardboard boxes. He wanted the vet to examine the cat for quality appreciation disorder and couldn't understand why cats didn't recognize expensive entertainment value. 21. A woman brought her hamster in because it was running on its wheel too much, and she was concerned about exercise addiction. The hamster was displaying normal activity levels, but she thought running several miles per night indicated compulsive behavior. She wanted the vet to prescribe exercise limitation therapy and couldn't understand that wheel running was natural hamster behavior, not a psychological disorder requiring intervention. 22. A couple took their dog to the vet because it was eating too fast, and they wanted medical intervention to slow down its eating speed. Instead of using puzzle feeders or portion control, they wanted medication to reduce the dog's appetite or make eating less enjoyable. They couldn't understand why the vet suggested behavioral management rather than pharmaceutical solutions to normal eating enthusiasm. 23. A man brought his bird to the vet because it was showing off too much when visitors came over, and he was concerned about the bird developing narcissistic personality disorder. The bird was displaying normal social behavior and responding to attention from new people, but the owner interpreted this as vanity and attention-seeking that needed psychological treatment. He wanted the bird to be more modest and less interactive with guests. 24. A woman called the emergency vet because her cat was making biscuits on her lap, and she was worried it was trying to communicate something urgent. The cat was kneading, which is normal affectionate behavior, but she thought the paw movements were some kind of distress signal or attempt to send a message. She had been trying to decode the kneading patterns like Morse code and was convinced her cat was trying to tell her something important. 25. A couple brought their rabbit in because it was discriminating against vegetables and only eating certain types of greens. The rabbit had normal food preferences, but the owners thought refusing some vegetables indicated prejudice or eating disorder. They wanted the vet to counsel the rabbit about dietary diversity and couldn't understand why animals might have taste preferences like humans do. 26. A man took his dog to the vet because it was barking in different languages and he was concerned about multiple personality disorder. The dog made different barking sounds in various situations: alert barks, playful barks, attention-seeking barks, but the owner interpreted these as distinct personalities speaking different languages. He wanted psychiatric evaluation for his dog's linguistic diversity and multiple identity issues. 27. A woman brought her cat in because it was addicted to sunbeams and spent too much time lying in sunny spots around the house. She was concerned that sun-seeking behavior indicated some kind of psychological dependency and wanted the vet to prescribe treatment for what she called solar addiction. She couldn't understand that cats naturally seek warm, comfortable spots, and that sunbathing was normal feline behavior, not a substance abuse problem. 28. A couple took their bird to the vet because it was gossiping about the neighbors and they were worried it would create social problems. The parrot was repeating conversations it had overheard, including comments about neighbors, but the owners thought this was intentional social commentary rather than simple mimicry. They wanted the bird to sign some kind of confidentiality agreement and were concerned about privacy violations. 29. A man brought his fish to the vet because it was staring at him judgmentally and making him uncomfortable. The fish had normal eye positioning that happened to face the front of the tank, but the owner interpreted this as psychological evaluation and criticism. He wanted the vet to explain to the fish that staring was rude and requested behavioral modification to make the fish look away more often. 30. A woman called the vet because her dog was pretending to be asleep when she tried to exercise it, and she was concerned about laziness or depression. The dog was simply tired or not interested in walking at that moment, but she thought its closed eyes were fake sleeping designed to avoid exercise. She wanted motivation counseling for her dog and couldn't understand that animals, like humans, had varying energy levels throughout the day. 31. A couple brought their cat in because it was planning escape routes, and they were worried it was plotting to run away. The cat was exploring the house and sitting near windows and doors, which is normal curious behavior, but the owners interpreted this as escape planning. They wanted the vet to counsel the cat about home loyalty and family commitment, not understanding that exploration was natural feline behavior. 32. A man took his turtle to the vet because it was ignoring his philosophical discussions, and he was concerned about the turtle's intellectual development. He had been reading philosophy books aloud to his turtle and was worried that it wasn't responding or engaging with complex ideas. He wanted cognitive enhancement therapy for his turtle and couldn't understand why reptiles didn't participate in intellectual conversations. 33. A woman brought her rabbit in because it was rearranging its cage, and she thought this indicated dissatisfaction with her interior design choices. The rabbit was displaying normal nesting and territorial behavior by moving bedding and toys around, but she interpreted this as criticism of her cage setup. She wanted the vet to mediate between her and the rabbit about proper cage organization and decorating preferences. 34. A couple took their dog to the vet because it was having nightmares and they wanted dream therapy. The dog occasionally moved its legs or made sounds while sleeping, which is normal dream activity. But the owners were convinced these were traumatic nightmares requiring psychological intervention. They wanted the vet to prescribe sleep medication or dream analysis for their dog's supposed night terrors. 35. A man brought his bird to the vet because it was singing off key, and he was concerned about hearing problems or musical inability. The bird was making normal vocalizations, but the owner had perfect pitch and was genuinely distressed by what he perceived as poor musical performance. He wanted hearing tests and voice coaching for his bird, not understanding that birds don't follow human musical standards. 36. A woman called the emergency vet because her cat was meowing in a foreign accent, and she was worried it had been influenced by neighborhood cats. The cat's meow sounded slightly different due to a minor upper respiratory issue, but she thought it was adopting speech patterns from other cats. She wanted linguistic evaluation and was concerned about cultural assimilation issues affecting her cat's vocal identity. 37. A couple brought their hamster in because it was hoarding bedding material, and they were concerned about obsessive-compulsive disorder. The hamster was displaying normal nesting behavior by collecting and arranging bedding, but the owners thought this indicated psychological problems requiring therapy. They wanted the vet to prescribe anti-anxiety medication for their hamster's compulsive collecting and organize intervention counseling. 38. A man took his dog to the vet because it was following him around too much, and he was worried about codependency issues. The dog was showing normal attachment and pack behavior, but the owner thought this indicated unhealthy emotional dependence, requiring psychological treatment. He wanted independence training for his dog and couldn't understand that following pack leaders was natural canine behavior, not a personality disorder. 39. A woman brought her cat in because it was making inappropriate facial expressions, and she was concerned about attitude problems. The cat had normal feline facial expressions, half-closed eyes, yawning, stretching, but she interpreted these as sarcasm, boredom, or disrespect. She wanted behavioral counseling for her cat's attitude adjustment and couldn't understand that cats don't make human-style facial expressions to communicate emotions. 40. A couple took their rabbit to the vet because it was eating flowers incorrectly, and they wanted proper dining etiquette training. The rabbit was eating flowers in their garden by nibbling petals and leaves, which is normal behavior, but the owners thought there was a proper way to consume flowers that their rabbit wasn't following. They wanted dining instruction and couldn't understand why rabbits didn't eat flowers with human table manners. 41. A man brought his fish to the vet because it was swimming against the current from the filter, and he was concerned about rebellious behavior. The fish was getting exercise and stimulation by swimming against the water flow, which is normal and healthy activity, but the owner thought this indicated defiance or opposition disorder. He wanted obedience training for his fish and couldn't understand that swimming against current was beneficial exercise, not psychological rebellion. 42. A woman called the vet because her bird was singing the same song repeatedly, and she was worried about memory problems or obsessive behavior. The bird had learned a tune and enjoyed repeating it, which is normal for vocal birds, but she thought repetition indicated cognitive decline or psychological fixation. She wanted memory enhancement therapy and couldn't understand that birds naturally repeat sounds they enjoy making. 43. A couple brought their dog in because it was choosing its own walking routes, and they were concerned about authority issues. The dog was exploring different paths and showing interest in various directions during walks, which is normal curiosity, but the owners thought this indicated insubordination requiring training. They wanted the vet to explain leadership hierarchy to their dog and couldn't understand that exploration was natural behavior, not rebellion against human authority. 44. And finally, the most spectacularly confused pet owner decision of all time. A woman brought her cat to the vet requesting a complete psychological evaluation because it was acting too much like a cat, and she was concerned that it wasn't developing enough human characteristics. She had expected her cat to eventually learn to walk upright, use bathroom facilities, and participate in family conversations like a furry human family member. When the cat continued displaying normal feline behaviors, sleeping in sunny spots, hunting toy mice, ignoring her attempts at conversation, she became convinced it had developmental delays preventing proper humanization. She wanted cognitive enhancement therapy, social skills training, and medication to help her cat reach its full potential as a family member. The veterinarian spent an hour explaining that cats are supposed to act like cats, that expecting human behavior from animals was unrealistic, and that normal feline behavior didn't require medical intervention or psychological treatment. She left disappointed that veterinary science hadn't yet developed ways to turn cats into furry humans, and continued searching for a veterinarian who would take her concerns about her cat's species identity issues seriously. These pet owner decisions prove that sometimes the most confused creature in the veterinary office isn't the animal. It's the human who brought it in. Which story made you question pet ownership requirements? The fish that needed wake-up calls? The cat that required anti-purring treatment? The turtle that needed speed enhancement therapy? Share your own confused pet owner stories and subscribe for more proof that common sense isn't actually that common when animals are involved.